Hello, I'm Yoko, and welcome to year 21 of GalaxyClan. And real quick, I said this in the last family tree video I made, but I want to thank everyone for 10,000 subscribers again. It blows me away with how much support you guys have for this series and me in general and the channel, and I'm very grateful for everyone that enjoys my content. But with that said, this year is messy. Messy is probably the best word to describe it, and we do have Dark Forest drama again. There's way too many players down there for us not to, honestly. But with that said, it's animatic time and blood warning for this section. Frecklespot was tackled into the bushes and she looked up to see Hollowstar pinning her. He said nothing, but she realized she couldn't break from his hold and started panicking, but went to hide it with what she's good at, her words. She explained that Snipcloud was currently leading cats towards StarClan after the recent Badger attack in ViperClan, and he'd be in big trouble and might even get killed without her help. Frecklespot turned towards him saying ViperClan are scary here and she knows information on them and other cats he might be interested in. But she was met with silence, so she began to reveal more stuff. She lied that Frostlycan is dangerous under his pathetic look. He's in the Dark Forest for trying to kill Snipcloud after all. She sped up as Hollowstar's claws dug into her neck, saying that they could team up and double kill Flamebear if he wants, revealing the fact that it wasn't only Gustburst that he had made kill as a kit, but Micah Kit as well. That got Hollowstar to visibly react, and his hold loosened a bit in shock. Seeing her strategy was working, Frecklespot quickly added that Ospreyclaw was hiding information because it benefits her. She has dreamwalking abilities that she abuses, and she was the one to first lead the rogues to camp, telling them to kill Hopefern and getting Hollowstar's sister Flaxroar killed. She nervously laughed as Hollowstar's grip on her left completely, and she said, if Ospreyclaw didn't do that, Hollowstar wouldn't have killed that rogue, and then the rogues would have never come back for revenge. Frecklespot felt the power switch back to her as she got off the ground and claimed, Ospreyclaw is truly Hollowstar's enemy right now, and she'd gladly work with him to— Hollowstar went straight for her neck. As he stood by her fading, he finally spoke and coldly thanked her for the information. Without turning his head, he asked who was it that was watching all of that. Renpaw squeaked in surprise and fear that she was noticed. She slowly backed up while saying that she's Vixenfoot's kit, meaning they're kin if he's truly Hollowstar. Hollowstar never turned towards her, staying silent until his fur bristled as he scented someone else. He growled out in anger as Ospreyclaw ran by, quickly heading for Renpaw and tackling her into a dreamscape and out of the Dark Forest. Stonestar was surprised seeing the cats appear and ran towards them. Stonestar frantically asking Ospreyclaw to stay and talk to her, but she opened another escape and left without saying a word. Meanwhile, Snipcloud knew he couldn't return to ViperClan's forest after he just helped a bunch of cats, and he was surprised at who he ran into, asking why she was hurt. Hopefern flinched, cautious at the sight of her brother, and spit out that it was the battle-hungry Cedar Blaze. Who else? Snipcloud looked around and thought for a bit before he sighed. He said he's not going to StarClan, and he doesn't think that she deserves to go to StarClan, but he also can't go back to ViperClan. He warned that he could bring death to them both, considering Butterfly Paw probably hates him, but despite never being close and everything, they are still family and he's willing to stay with her. Hopefern softened a bit and sighed, admitting it would be nice to not be alone again, and taking him up on the offer despite the danger. So yeah, major developments happening. Hollowstar killed Frecklespot and Snipcloud is now with his sister. But here in StarClan, the first up is someone you guys actually have never met. His name was Claw, and he was a charismatic guy who was a good fighter and a good kit sitter, and he was 245 moons old, and he died of old age a moon after joining. No surprise. Notably, he was found wheezing his two legs' name, and Ghost Snow reminded the patrol of the story of someone named Tigger, and I'm wondering if that patrol rolls a random name from the loner list, because besides the one in Winnie the Pooh, I do not know a Tigger. But apparently, Claw joined weak after eating something he shouldn't have, and since he has the same white spotting in-game as Chris Drizzle, I made him his grandpa in canon. Which, it's sad that Claw died, but in the end, he was very old. Very expected. Next up, sadly, is the newly named Silver Whistle, who died at only 18 moons old. When he was still an apprentice, he was hoping he wouldn't get sent on Dawn Patrol, and then he was honored for his bravery at his warrior ceremony, and later got stuck in an awkward situation with his siblings when they got into some trouble with ViperClan, but we'll get into those details later. He wanted to speak to Kale about something, and I decided that it was the fact that while he struggled to stay awake at typical times, he was also having a bit of a harder time staying asleep at night. So Kale suggested perhaps going on some more night patrols instead. And he had a couple successful hunts, but small blood warning for a pick in 3, 2, 1. He went out for a patrol at night with Midnight Lilac and was unfortunately bit and killed by a snake, and the picture is gone now. Midnight Lilac killed the snake, but it was too late for Silver Whistle. And I'm so sad. But I'm also extra sad to say that Micah Shatter died at 38 moons old. Earlier, she was giving Renkit advice, and then she asked Hop if he thought that she was a good teacher, and she hid her face in her paws when he said that she's always done a great job leading. Her crush for him did come back, but in the end, nothing sadly happened. She was giving a badger ride to some of the kits, but I will say Wasp Kit never grew to like her, and that seemed to kind of upset her. I will also say that she came out with what she did to Stone Star and wasn't punished for what Flamebear made her do. She was also very close to Swan Song, and you'll hear more about how this went later, but they did tell Stone Star their stories at the same time. So there's a sneak peek. Micah Shatter died with major blood warning for a picture in 3, 2, 1. She was killed by a small dog, but she sunk her teeth into its neck and her world went dark, but she took it out with her. And the picture is gone now. I'm so sad that her last action was just desperately killing something in self-defense. Micah Shatter, please rest now, but the next death is someone that she was also closely bonded to. Because Gus Spurse also died this year at 37 moons old. And I'm so sad. Why both of these girls? She sat proud when her apprentice was named, but she seemed a bit distant this year. She was thinking a lot about where she belongs and staring off into space, but on a solo patrol she found peace with herself and enjoyed her solitude, knowing that she may not be flawless, but she's trying hard and believed in the path she was taking. And after saying all of that, she also apparently had a mate outside the clan named Bleakbud, who I didn't draw, but he's outside the clan right now and does have a possibility of joining. Very concerningly, he is bloodthirsty, but extremely interesting. He is a former clan cat. And off the top of my head, I don't think the other clans had lost cats in Gus Spurse's age range. So I'm saying he's from one of the older clans, aka Bug, Creek, or Sharp clan. But we'll never really get to know if he was a good or a bad mate to Gus Spurse while they were together because he never joined and she actually died when she slipped off an icy cliff when leaping to catch either a buzzard or a vulture, she wasn't sure. And her bloodline needs to stop dying by falling off cliffs. I am not okay with this. And sadly, next up is Scrappy Cricket, who died at only 26 moons old. Earlier in the year, she brought 2 Viper Clan kits back with Midnight Lilac and Gecko insert suffix, which I thought was interesting thinking back to her mom having killed a J-Clan cat over a similar event. Speaking of J-Clan, she caught a rabbit over the border and was chased back with the cats glaring and spitting at her. But ignoring that for now, she was also practicing fighting with Berry Dew, who she had a crush on, and I was shipping them, but sadly it never did happen. Scrappy Cricket got an apprentice and was a little reckless, I'll be honest, but wanted to make up for it, feeling bad for the danger they got into on their first patrol. But sadly, they both died 2 moons into their training, and I'll get into how after I introduce her apprentice. This is the 7-moon-old Dahlia Paw, who was bold, quick to help, and a careful listener. She joined with her parent as a noisy kit, and she let out a mighty roar. She also had the in-game status of just a bunch of meows over and over, which I laughed at, and she tried to sneak out as a kit. So she was always kind of a handful. She was so excited at her apprentice ceremony that she accidentally shoved her nose into Scrappy Cricket's too hard, but she just laughed it off. Unfortunately, on her first patrol, they stayed out too long and then got caught in a winter storm. But luckily, no one was actually hurt. Not so luckily, and big blood warning for 3, 2, 1. Scrappy Cricket and Dahlia Paw were murdered by the J-Clan cats Amanda, Treefern, and Hop Mallow. And the pick is gone now. Now for stream watchers, on this moon, those 3 cats actually killed 2 lost GalaxyClan kits this moon. But luckily, GalaxyClan had no kits that were more than 0 moons old that moon, so there's no way that could have been available to happen. So in canon, J-Clan didn't kill kits, which is good, but they did still kill a young apprentice and a warrior. A warrior who, as I mentioned, was a kit when her parent killed a J-Clan cat who was trying to help. Also, for anyone that voted on the blind vote on my community post, it was related to who died in this time. And I will say other choices were more random, but you guys actually picked the option that sadly makes the most sense with later statuses that we'll get into. But yeah, Dahlia Paw's full name would have been Dahlia Step, and with that said, that's everyone in StarClan this year, so let's head over to our living cats. Stone Star is doing her best, but this year kept throwing information at her, so I'm starting with something cute. She saw a Moss Clan patrol with a young apprentice who hid behind their mentor. Stone Star coaxed the apprentice out and praised their mentor, who was grateful for Stone Star's kindness. That's adorable. But now back to the drama. Her son Silver Whistle died, and then on that same moon, Micah Shatter and Swan Song confessed their secrets to her. Micah Shatter was told it wasn't her fault, but Swan Song was a tougher decision. She ended up asking the other higher-ups, and we'll get more information on what happened here as we go throughout the video. Then the very next moon, Stone Star was dreaming when Osprey Claw barged in with Renpaw, and just when she thought she could get information, Osprey Claw left. That being said, Renpaw heard everything that Frecklespot told Hollow Star. So Stone Star knows that information, but is cautious whether or not to take Frecklespot's word as 100% fact. But she was a little concerned to hear that Hollow Star was killing cats in the Dark Forest. But on top of all that, J-Clan has killed cats in GalaxyClan, and at the very last moon of the year, the air was thick with tension as Stone Star formally declared war with J-Clan. I'm making a battle to start next year, and this fight is something Stone Star is worried about, but yeah, she is trying her best, but there's so much going on right now, and I didn't even mention something that we'll get to towards the end of the video. Moving on to Ghost Snow, he is 73 moons old, and he lost part of his tail to falling rocks this year. He gave Silver Whistle a nudge at his warrior ceremony, and he was very sad to lose both his former apprentice and his younger brother. But beyond that, Ghost Snow was telling cats the story of the cat Time Forgot, which I will read mostly from what is said in-game. It is a tale of a cat who slipped through time's claws to immortality, always young and forever strong. But Ghost Snow whispered of the costs, for they were never learning or growing and always left behind by friends and family who lived and died. In the end, the cat became a hollow shell untethered to the world for its scarcity of time that gives life its value. That is an extremely interesting story, and while Hollow Shell makes me think Hollow Star, he's not young. And I've seen people wonder when this story pops up on streams, if it's passed down stories about Butterfly Paw of Viper Clan that cats don't really realize is about her. And speaking of Viper Clan, Ghost Snow found the Viper Clan medicine cat asking for herbs for a badly injured warrior, and he escorted them to camp. I mentioned this in the animatic, but without getting into details, Badgers absolutely wrecked Viper Clan this year. But yeah, Ghost Snow's doing pretty great as deputy in my opinion, a great support, doing a good job of holding down the fort, and now it's medicine cat time. Snake Eye is now 97 moons old, and she reassured Cragpaw that StarClan is always there to guide her. She also gave Moss Clan Tansy when they asked for some, but on that same moon she made a mess of the herbs and was panicking a bit. She actually found a queen with its kits and was patrolling with Todd, bringing the cats back to clan. One of these being the future Dahlia Paw. We also have elders again, and Snake Eye was always liked helping the elders. And an elder was actually giving her some advice, and then the next moon she moved on from Firefog, though she will always love him. I think she's doing a lot healthier mentally this year, and her child actually did something very important later, and she's very proud of them. She's also really happy with her fellow medicine cats, all things considered, in the clan, and she feels like she could be comfortable retiring within the next year or so. You know, when it's time. But for now, Todd is 52 moons old, and she has a crush on Turtle Pelt as well now. She had a cute water fight with him on patrol, but he's been a bit busy later in the year, and she's a little worried about him. Beyond that, she was eavesdropping on Dahlia Paw's sibling when they were kits, which I found cute, and regarding Swan Song, she doesn't like him after hearing about what he did, but she and the other medicine cats reported not hearing any StarClan warnings about him when Stone Star did ask. But she does have a decent dislike on him. But beyond that, there's really not much for Todd. So moving on to the newly named Cragscale, who was named via community post. She is a confident great kit sitter and is wearing rush flowers now as her medicine cat accessory. She fretted if she was really ready to earn her warrior name, but Snake Eye reassured her. Later in the year, she was feeling a bit ill, so I think she got a minor sickness of some kind. Extremely interesting, on the moon that Scrappy Cricket and Dahlia Paw were killed, Cragscale was arguing with a medicine cat of J-Clan, who I assume is Skipfluff, and then she gave advice to Peepmane that moon. Seeing that his sister was killed, it was probably some kind of support, but Cragscale also does have a small crush on him, but that was definitely not a flirting time, so if anything, I assume she was just supportive right there. She also was seen talking to a traveling loner with Snake Eye, and in my opinion, that's either a traveling healer, because there are a couple of those just wandering the mountains, Or that could have just been her dad Marsh, who is still alive but outside the clan, though he is a kitty pet. Mediator time, the newly named Ice Dash is now 20 moons old, playful, a great kid sitter, and has ghost sight. We'll come back to that. She also came out as a trans girl. Love that for her. And I let Kale semi-retire at the end of the year in-universe, but in-game, they are still a mediator. Kale likes mediating, but has stepped down for the most part, basically, and anything from here out saying Kale actually left camp to go somewhere to mediate something, I'm just gonna retcon and say Ice Dash did that. Icepaw was in awe of Kale's conflict resolution skills and also traveled to J-Clan to resolve some recent hunting disputes back before things got pretty bad. And on that moon, she was practicing neutrality, so I think she was trying to avoid basically what we ended up getting into. She was named at 11 moons old and wondered if Cragscale was okay the moon that Cragscale was ill. Ice Dash also had a successful hunting dispute with Moss Clan, who kept stealing rabbits from us this year, but she actually had a failed mediating session between Micah Shatter and Wasppaw, unfortunately. Also, remember her ghost sight trait? Well, she was able to see and get input from Thunder Spirit themselves, the victim of Swan Song, when his fate was being decided. But we'll come back to this. On to our warriors. Turtlepelt is still our oldest warrior at 77 moons old, and as stated earlier, he had a cute water fight with his crush Todd. But that's like the only good thing that really happened this year to him. He got pranked by Scrappy Cricket, and then he got an apprentice that did not respect him, like, at all. His apprentice got into an accident later, which Turtlepelt calmed himself down, thinking about how StarClan will see to things, but he did feel really guilty. But his apprentice also argued over techniques and unnerved Turtlepelt with their intensity. He may have earned his name, but Turtlepelt feels like he failed his apprentice, seeing how they ended up in the end, and is ashamed of what his apprentice turned into. But you'll see that later. Next up, here's the 67 moon old Bubbling Mark and the 61 moon old Midnight Lilac. And I drew Oriole Chirp in the nursery because while their new kids are pretty young, I didn't want to draw Bubbling Mark separated in the nursery again and just draw the boys again. Guys, stop having kits at the very end of the year so I can actually draw a cute Polly pose pic. But Bubbling Mark was once again hoping for a big litter, so I really think she just really wants a big family, and I'm happy that she has 3 more kids. Earlier in the year, she hid from a fox and got some minor scratches, with Pebblejoy getting her a piece of fresh kill. She also was giving Midnight Lilac advice, and the next moon it was revealed that Midnight Lilac has another mate outside the clan, a kitty pet who I also didn't draw, but their name is Chocolate Chip, and I hope she joins. Side note, apparently the day that this goes up is National Chocolate Chip Cookie Day, so that's fun. Based on the advice on Moon before, I'm saying the rest of the poly knows and are okay with this. Earlier in the year, Midnight Lilac brought 2 Viper Clan kits home. He later killed the snake that killed Silver Whistle and was thinking about his old clanmates, perhaps thinking about the tradition of having to kill a snake to become a warrior there. He also was on patrol of Oriole Chirp when he found the perfect chance to practice teamwork, and by that he means working to find a place to nap and then they'd cover for each other so they wouldn't get in trouble. He did get lectured by Ghost Snow on the very next moon though, so I do think they got caught. Midnight Lilac was also telling Roostertail the story of the charming Casanova cat, a story of a cat with many mates who was kind of a player and left behind many kits to many different she-cats. And people have joked before that that story might be about an old Viper Clan cat, Curly Dapple, who is Roostertail's grandpa, so that was kind of interesting. But yeah, the poly have new kits and are very happy. And next up is a new face, Zach, a 62 moon old childish good teacher. Zach came out as agender and uses itself pronouns. And it joined with its 2 kits and used to live on a boat, apparently. It was complaining about being sent on Dawn Patrol and was very upset when J-Clan killed its daughter, Dahlia Paw, later catching another cat trespassing and getting its ear torn in the scuffle. It is very ready for a round 2 fight and wants to avenge its daughter in the upcoming battle against J-Clan. Also, Zach rolled a Cobra hood for one of its visual traits, so I'm deciding it is a sibling of Spam, but I haven't decided if it's a half or a full sibling. And next up is Roostertail, who is now 51 moons old, who, as I said earlier, was listening to the story of Casanova / Curly Dapple from Midnight Lilac, and then he was blindsided by a confession from Chris Drizzle, publicly rejecting him, and everyone was feeling a bit awkward. That was just something Roostertail was not expecting, and he had 2 crushes at the time, being Hop and Micah Shatter, and Chris Drizzle was not one of them. I will say he does have a very small crush on him back now, but it's probably just because it was brought up to his attention. We'll see. Roostertail bravely offered to help the medicine cat gather herbs from a dangerous spot, and learned more about the nature of prophecies and StarClan from Snake Eye, wondering a bit about Hop for reasons we'll get into later. He also found out Swansong's actions from someone and is the reason the whole clan pretty much knows. He does not like Swansong. He has a decent dislike on him. Roostertail also chased out a kitty pet, and he seems a bit grumpy towards outsiders in general. Interestingly, Roostertail was telling his crush Hop the same story of Casanova/Curly Dapple at the end of the year, and I wonder if Roostertail is kind of self-conscious about actually getting into a relationship, not wanting to end up making bad decisions, even though I don't really think he would. And speaking of Hop, he's 45 moons old, and he had reassured Micah Shatter that she was a good teacher. He was also giving an apprentice hunting tips when they asked, and pulled a cat back just in time when they almost were caught going after a rabbit on Viper Clan territory. Hop is a bit of an overly goody two-shoes when it comes to some rules, and I'm sure the warriors didn't quite appreciate when he roused them awake at dawn, but he means well. Hop actually thinks that he's part of a prophecy after seeing some stuff about Swansong with another cat, and Hop was feeling a bit ill with Swansong and doesn't really like him, feeling that Stone Star might have made a bad decision with keeping Swansong in camp. He also told Roostertail about him being a killer and is uneasy in general. He got cicada wings from Rainbow Flare in-game, but I made them a sheep moth instead. And Hop also got another apprentice and is doing his best. Next up is Swansong, who is 42 moons old and is still in the clan after confessing to Stone Star. Going back in time, he tossed a snake out of camp before it could bite someone and was having a practice sparring session with an apprentice who asked him. Very interesting, his great-grandma Swanleaf visited him and gave him an omen which, blood warning for a pick? She said, when birds and bugs combine, bloodshed is soon to follow. Which made him feel sick and guilty, and the picture is gone now. Swansong had heard that he carried Bug Clan blood through her, and he thought it was some kind of guilt trip over his murder or an omen that he's destined to spiral into something worse. Though I will remind you, Scrappy Cricket was later killed by J Clan, and I will say there's something else that fits with birds and bugs later. He was having nightmares of Thunder Spirit's death and wished he could take it back. Hop and another cat found out, and he was forced to tell Stone Star, with Micah Shatter joining in for support. He was wondering what Stone Star was thinking when she didn't exile him on the moon that he confessed. And on that same moon, Thunder Spirit was proud of him, which I took as them saying they're willing to let Swansong try to redeem himself. Thunder Spirit was always a nice cat in general, especially in their older years. This outcome upset Hop, who was uncomfortable living with a killer, which led to him complaining to Roostertail, and then, the whole clan found out. A lot of cats don't really like him, and he's doing his best. He feels like it's a cruel joke that StarClan took Micah Shatter and Guspers from the clan, but he is allowed to stay. I'm really rooting for Swansong, but he's been really struggling with himself this year. I will say, while cats don't like him, Swansong doesn't have any major specifically large dislikes himself, which is good. Moving on to the 39-moon-old Pebblejoy, she got Bubbling Mark Prey when she got those minor scratches earlier, and then later she got an apprentice who she did great with. Together they saved a cat from being thrown into a lake, and when she noticed her apprentice wasn't doing well and she was stressed, she said it's important to take a rest, acknowledging their hard work and commending them, but warning against burnout. Pebblejoy's little brother found some juniper berries and gave them to her, which reminds me so much of Burnout Flicker now. And Pebblejoy later noticed that a clanmate was tired and offered to help them. She was also actually ambushed by rogues, but she managed to escape, which I am very happy for. Please don't die. She's very sad of her Gusburst's death, but overall she's a very sweet cat that the clan overall seems to love. She also has a small crush on Chris Drizzle. Speaking of, Chris Drizzle is 32 moons old now and has a lot of cats his age range that actually have crushes on him. Unfortunately, Chris Drizzle decided that the cat that he wanted to confess to was the uninterested Roostertail, who liked someone else and was double his age at the time. Chris Drizzle, please, you have other options. Please go for them. He also introduced his muzzle to the ground while training with Ghost Snow and Silver Whistle, which was embarrassing, especially due to the fact Ghost Snow is the deputy. He was happy to see his grandpa Claw, though it didn't surprise him when he did pass away, knowing that he was very old. Chris Drizzle ate prey on patrol, and Bubbling Mark gave him a disappointed and knowing stare. After that, he worked twice as hard to prove himself to the Clanborn cats, but then he slipped on a rock and twisted his paw. He's kind of a bit of a boy fail, and I'm hoping for better things next year. But next up is the 28-moon-old Rainbow Flare, who is one of the before-mentioned many cats that have a crush on Chris Drizzle. It is currently unrequited, though, sadly. Rainbow Flare saw an apprentice get into a major accident and helped him get to Snake Eye for treatment, as well as trying to help him in recovery, but the cat wasn't really the most grateful. Rainbow Flare later had a nap with Scrappy Cricket, Hop, and Swansong while on a patrol. Very productive, guys. But they wandered into the dreamscape of clanmates until they saw Swansongs, who was reliving the murder of Thunder Spirit from his guilt. Rainbow Flare was surprised that apparently Hop had noticed them and followed them to Swansong's dream. So that's how Hop found out and why he thought he was part of a prophecy. The two cats confronted Swansong and convinced him he needed to report that to Stone Star or they would. Rainbow Flare is more accepting of Stone Star's decision to keep Swansong in clan, and later went and explained his dream walking to Hop and gave him the moth to wear. Rainbow Flare has been keeping an eye on kits this year, and I wonder if they're hoping to get an apprentice next year. Moving on to the 28-moon-old Pete Main, he was in the Medicine Cat Den a couple of times, which makes sense, considering his mutual small crush on Cragskill. Interestingly, he also has an even smaller mutual crush on Swansong, and he's also another cat crushing on Chris Drizzle. Pete Main was seen arguing with a cat from J-Clan, which isn't surprising considering they killed his sister. He's not happy when, while he's usually loving, he is appalled at J-Clan's actions. And related to the bird Jays, he held Chris Drizzle and Echo insert suffix from pouncing on a blue jay and was rewarded with a second one, explaining that they travel in groups of 5 or more. And he's the last living member of his family now, and that makes me really sad, but that's basically it for him this year. So moving on to Berry Dew, who is now 26 moons old, and he actually came out as trans male in the 2 moons I play ahead each year, and I feel bad misgendering him, so I'm just shifting the timeline slightly to have him come out a little early. Holostar no longer only has daughters, though all the girls are dead now. Poor Micah Shatter. I'm also so sad Scrappy Cricket died because I was shipping them and thought that practicing fighting together was adorable. Berry Dew was on the patrol that helped Claw back to camp, and Berry Dew continues to think that he's the best cat in clan. He struts around confidently, and he's mad that he isn't joining in the main battle on J-Clan, but is determined to fight and protect the clan if the fighting comes to camp. He also isn't the biggest fan of Ghost Snow or Rooster Tail, so that's something to keep an eye on if it gets worse. I'm hoping that Ice Dash can smooth some things over for now. Also, Chris Drizzle has a crush on him, but Berry Dew doesn't like him back. Chris Drizzle, please like the cats that actually do like you too. And moving on to the newly named 22-moon-old Adderstripe, she ended up being our grumpy and excellent teacher with a natural intuition. She was named 11 moons old and was honored for her hard work. And she stole so many rabbits from Viper Clan this year. It was like 3 times she did it. Hop pulled her back on one occasion, but she did get caught once while out with all her siblings. And the leader's kids being caught stealing prey isn't really the best look, but she was later having a pleasant conversation with Viper Clan, so it seems that things were smoothed over. I do think it's funny that she has so many Viper Clan statuses when she has a snake name, but next up is her brother, the newly named Troublesome Gecko Dart, who is a great speaker and impressive climber. I like to think that he gets comments about being a real gecko with how he climbs rocks so easily. He was named last of his litter at 13 moons old, and was honored for his flexibility. He was on the patrols that brought the Viper Clan kits back and helped save a cat from a lake, and he managed to smooth things over when Adderstripe was caught stealing a rabbit by giving Viper Clan the prey and using his words to make things better. He wished that he was still in his nest sleeping the moon that Silver Whistle died, which I interpret as he wished it was just a dream. And on the last moon of the year, he got lectured by his big brother Ghost Snow. Not sure what for, but he is troublesome, so probably warranted. I also want to point out that he had a crush on Scrappy Cricket, but, you know, she died. It would have been cute, but, pain. Moving on to the 20-moon-old newly named Wishkeeper, who was also named via community poll. He is an ambitious, talented swimmer, and while he was dreading his apprentice duties, he also wanted to be a fierce warrior someday. He apparently has been imitating Stone Star's behavior recently, which I think he really wants to be more like her, and I think she did a really good job mentoring him. And he looks up to her since cats really like her. He was the one who gave Pebblejoy the juniper berries, and Wishkeeper actually got into some trouble. He saw Gorseglare of Viper Clan, a cat that he is kin with, and Wishkeeper wanted to ask how he was doing, considering he lost all of his siblings, and Wishkeeper could relate to losing loved ones. He wasn't thinking when he crossed the border, and blood warning in 3, 2, 1. The Viper Clan cat Splinter Jumble attacked him, scarring his throat and chasing him off the territory. And the pick is gone. The incident was smoothed over between the clans as a whole, but Wishkeeper is still upset and asked Ice Dash if she could ask on her next visit, knowing that her mediator friend Dawnburn was one of the victims. Next up is the 16-moon-old newly named Run Noise, who is strict, clever, and concerningly now has a deep dark forest bond, which I don't think she actually wants. Micah Shatter was giving her advice as a kit, and Red Noise did actually grow to enjoy her aunt before her death. Sadly, her dad, Bright Shatter and J-Clan, actually died on the first moon of the year when he drowned, and she never got to meet him. Renpa hoped that both her parents were watching from StarClan when she was apprenticed to Oriole Chirp, and she met with her aunt Peak Spirit at the J-Clan border on her first patrol, having a pleasant conversation, everything considered. That being said, Peak Spirit also later died, so Red Noise really is just losing all of her family. Red Noise has decided not to personally hunt or eat birds after hearing J-Clan's beliefs that StarClan watches them through the birds. She isn't affected by the rest of the clan eating them, and it's mostly a personal comfort thing for her. She was named 11 moons old on the same moon that she was actually thrown into Stone Star's dream, where she then reported everything she saw and tried to convince Stone Star that she didn't want to be there and just kind of ended up there. She later accidentally put a mark in the wrong place on the J-Clan border, and while she apologized, the J-Clan cats did not accept it. She feels a bit alone and is very concerned about her dead grandpa right now, as well as her brother, who we'll get into later. For now, let's look at the 16-moon-old newly named Echo Whisper. She's a calm cat with a natural intuition, and she needed to be coaxed by Oriole Chirp when she was apprenticed to Pebblejoy, and she caught a mouse from across some rocks on her first patrol. Extremely concerningly, Flamebear was watching her with malice. Flamebear, stay away from her. She helped save the cat from a lake and was also apparently racing along the border with her Moss Clan rival, quote-unquote. But when I checked who that could be on that moon in Moss Clan, her options were young warriors a couple moons older than her that didn't really seem the nicest, considering Cliff Splash caught a lost GalaxyClan apprentice on Moss Clan territory and sent her home crying. I was hoping for something cuter considering that she has Moss Clan blood and a fun rivalry is literally how her parents got together, but sadly this is what we get instead. Pebblejoy could see that she was overworking and convinced her not to burn herself out and take time to rest, and she was named for her serenity. Based on her name, I also imagine that she has a very soft-spoken kind of voice, kind of like Fluttershy from My Little Pony. You know, she kind of talks like this in a whisper. She's also very happy and excited to have younger siblings. Moving on to our one apprentice, here is the childish 9-moon-old Broken Paw, and I promise his full name in the code isn't a mean one. So I kept his prefix, but for now I do admit that it looks a little bad that he was named Broken Kit. He's the other kid of Zach, and he had the same personality as It right now, which I find cute. Todd was eavesdropping on him as a kid, and he likes the medicine cat, asking her about StarClan as well. For a little bit, I thought he might have wanted to be one. He also got a badger ride from Micah Shatter, which was cute, and he was apprenticed to Hop, and on his first day out, they went hunting, and he caught something, but they turned back quickly, seeing that it was starting to snow. And you saw what happened that moon with Scrappy Cricket and Dahlia Paw getting caught in the snow. And he had a strange dream the same moon that Dahlia Paw was killed, and he's very upset at his sister's murder. On a lighter note, he screeched at Akia and was offended when Hop commented that he's lucky the bird was entertained. But yeah, I really like Broken Paw, and he's our only apprentice right now at the moment. So on to our elders. As I said, Kale is now partially retired as he is 159 moons old now. They solved some herb gathering disputes in Moss Clan and also wish their clanmates would just kind of talk to each other, which was kind of funny whenever I get that status. She was the one to suggest Silver Whistle do night patrols, and he does feel guilty for his death a bit. Kale was taken aback when Stone Star told him Swan Song's confession of crime, and Stone Star knew that Kale was the cat closest to Thunder Spirit, and in particular wanted their input on Swan Song's fate. After hearing what Ice Dash heard from his old partner's spirit, Kale took a deep breath and said Swan Song has always shown to be a cat loyal to those close to him. He was a lost and angry child looking for someone to blame for his pain, and Kale believes that he can be a good cat in the future. And he's shown himself to be a capable warrior. Lives are too short to spend them hating each other in Kale's opinion, and if Thunder Spirit is proud of Swan Song, then she will be as well. I love Kale and I'm amazed that they've lived this long. I hope they stick around longer. Joining Kale in the Elder's Den is a new face. Meet the 131-moon-old charismatic Stargazer, who is a learner of lore. And he's the elder that Pebblejoy and Gecko Dart and Echo Paw saved from being thrown into a lake, which is extremely horrifying when added the fact that Stargazer rolled to have been missing both his front legs from birth. So some terrible two-leg tried to drown a disabled elderly cat. I have choice words for them, but I cannot say them on this channel. Stargazer seems to be seen by a lot of the clan to be a wise cat blessed by StarClan. He's just kind of existing and giving advice, but his unique freckled eyes and his name that was from before he joined the clan kind of draws wonder. As mentioned, he gave Snake Eye advice that led to her finally being able to move on from her maid's stuff. And Stargazer was also talking to Micah Shatter, somehow noticing that she seemed to be dealing with a lot of internal stuff and pressures, more than most of the clan, and she relaxed a bit with him, not telling him the story, but feeling comfortable. Stargazer seems like a nice old man, and I'm happy we saved him. He's also well adapted to getting around on two legs, having lived this way his whole life, and has bonded with Berrydew a bit, encouraging him to do great. And he was listening to stories from Stargazer earlier too. And now it's nursery time. The now 62-moon-old Oriole Chirp is here with his kits, who are 2 moons old. As mentioned, Bubbling Mark should probably be here since they are pretty young, but I do imagine the Polly takes turns when Bubbling Mark wants to stretch her legs. They are all parents, and we stand fathers being there for their kids. If they have a furred litter, and once again, I need to draw them in the nursery, I am all for drawing Midnight Lilac in the nursery instead. They have free kits, with the Impulsive Boy Scratch Kit being biologically Oriole Chirps, and the Polite Girl Rowan Kit and the Unruly Boy Sleepy Kit, whose name isn't the most fitting, being biologically Midnight Lilacs. The boys are little agents of chaos who run around while Rowan Kit sits there nicely. As for Oriole Chirp's year, he got Renpaw as an apprentice and attempted to let her see her J-Clan family while they were alive, but sadly her aunt is dead now. And he wasn't aware while she was an apprentice that she just kind of poofed into the dark forest, but in Ren Noise's defense, she didn't know she could do that, and she did tell him later. He was also hoping that Echo Paw would be chosen for a gathering, and he gave Sleepy Kid a badger ride, being begged by the other two to do the same with them. Oriole Chirp really loves his family, so does all the Polly. And it's adorable. I'm happy that these guys are getting the big family that they wanted, and Bubbly Mark actually announced kits on the same moon that Echo Whisper turned 12 moons old, which is literally the first moon she could have rolled to start expecting kits again, because I have it set in the code now that they have a 12 moon waiting period in between litters. So they really did not wait. But now on to the elephant in the room, if you've seen the streams. The 16-moon-old bloodthirsty wasp mimic, who is a beloved kit sitter and a good hunter, joined J-Clan towards the end of the year, where, reminder, he has no living family in there anymore, so that can't even be his reason, and going back in time, he never got along with Micah Shatter, and was apprenticed to Turtle Pelt, where he chased out a small dog on their first patrol. He didn't respect his mentor at all, and argued over techniques, and kept seeking out other cats to teach him, sparring with Swan Song, getting hunting tips from Hop, etc. He was hit by a monster, and when I rolled for how bad his leg scar was, he actually lost the leg entirely. And from then on, his statuses were seemingly about picking fights with sweet cats who I do not see why he would be wanting to pick fights with. They were just trying to help him, like Ice Dash and Pebblejoy. He unnerved Turtle Pelt with his intensity and was seen touching noses of a J-Clan cat towards the end of the year, and actually on the same moon that in the J-Clan stream he left clan. And that was after they killed our cats. And eventually he just left. Now I bring back the many warnings from the omen related to the bugs and birds. His name is Wasp Mimic. He has J-Clan blood. He joined J-Clan. And Ren Noise loves him, but frankly is a little scared of her brother right now, especially after seeing Hollowstar kill in the Dark Forest, and she fears that he's going down that path. But yeah, as long as Wasp Mimic is alive, I'll keep you guys updated on him from his time in J-Clan, but that's everyone, so let's check on the positions of power. Leader-wise, we have Stone Star, standing strong but nervous about the upcoming fight. And in Moss Clan, Thunderstar has a struggling love life, nothing new. His deputy stepped down for his mental health, and Thunderstar made a cat that rejected being his mate, the deputy. But then they died on the last moon of the year, and he panicked a bit to pick a new cat. Also, he still somehow has all 9 lives. As for J-Clan, Blue Star terrifies me. He secretly set up a badger attack that devastated Viper Clan and killed GalaxyClan in fights. Despite hating the other clans and instigating, he never declared war and made Stone Star be the one to formally do so. He also lost 2 kids and another mate this year, and his one living son seems to be attempting a coup against him, with not the most success. And Blue Star also lost a life to rogues this year. And in Viper Clan, Gardenia Star's apprentice did survive, but she ditched him a lot and barely trained him. She did, however, finally become mates with Ochreforn, and during the badger attack, she was letting her deputy call the shots. Gardenia Star kind of continues to be a girl fail, but she does still have 9 lives. And now she has 2 newborn babies, and Viper Clan is surprisingly the clan that is closest to GalaxyClan in the code right now, which I find really funny, considering I set them up to be the evil clan. Deputy-wise, we have Ghost Snow for GalaxyClan. And in Moss Clan, as stated earlier, Antlerstock stepped down, and we did have a cat named Swarm until they died. So now the deputy is a wise cat that joined this year named Snipdapple, who is also technically a legal choice because Moss Clan apprentices don't officially become apprentices until they're 8 moons old. So he hasn't started training the one that he does have in game. I will say that he has a prophecy-seeking trait, so that might have contributed. He also has an adopted daughter and seems sweet at least, so there's that. We might get a Snip Star, but not the kind that you guys wanted in the past. Missile Dusk is still in J-Clan, and she lost her mate this year, but she does have a kit now. She has very conflicted feelings on Blue Star, but is doing her best. And in Viper Clan, Freckleheart is free now that Frecklespot is dead, but I feel so bad for this girl. Last year she had 4 kids, and now she has 1. 2 of them got killed by badgers, and 1 was killed by an unknown, assumedly non-Viper Clan cat. She's practically running the clan, and Freckleheart needs a rest. Medicine Cat-wise, GalaxyClan is the same with Cragskill getting her name now. And in Moss Clan, Sadie Curl retired, so Tin Man is now the head med cat, and his kids are not really that liked in the clan. One of them being Cliff Splash, the one who is quote-unquote rivals with Echo Whisper. Tin Man is mostly sweet, though. Goose Lotus is still around, though maybe not for long because the previous mate of the cat that they murdered has resentment for them. And I think they figured out the truth. And the childish 8-moon-old Mousepod just became an apprentice under Tin Man, and I love him. Meanwhile, in J-Clan, Skip Fluff has become strange now, and I'm assuming she was the cat that Cragskill was yelling at based on the options available. Mr. Kittypool sadly was killed by a snake, and we briefly had a former loner named Charon Crest as a medicine cat, but he froze to death. We do have a new face in Kinkpaw, who is the Deputy Missile Dust's son, and he is a sweetheart who thinks that even rogues and loners deserve kindness, and I feel so bad that he's in J-Clan of all clans right now. Viper Clan-wise, Rook Whisker is bonding with his kids, one being named after him, becoming Fog Whisker, and gave him bluebells to wear as an apprentice. Moon Ember retired and is an elder now, and Stork Rain is hoping for StarClan to send signs, and also wants the bounciest kit as a future apprentice, which I think is really cute. Mediator-wise, Kale is semi-retired, but I'll keep them here, and Ice Dash is a trans girl and earned her name. Moss Clan unfortunately still has the Murder Man Tetrastripe, but thankfully no recent murders, though he does still hate Bubbling Mark's sister. J-Clan continues to never have therapy, and Viper Clan lost another young mediator with Dawnburn being killed by badgers, but Ochreforn is still around and is mates with Gardenia Star and has 2 kits now. Happy for them. And that is year 21. These cats are a mess. Swansong has been revealed and was given a chance to stay around, so I really hope that he doesn't make any major bad decisions. I'd love a nice redemption. I will say that Stonestar actually had a small dislike for him, but she's giving him a fair chance based on decisions of all sides. Holostar is concerning in the Dark Forest, and Frecklespot basically gave him a hit list reason for most of the cats there, so we'll see if he goes through with his path. I will say I rolled what would happen to Snipcloud after betraying Butterflypaw again, and one option was that they could have straight up killed him. So him being with Hopefern and kind of being miserable with life, but trying to make the best of things, is a good outcome considered. And what is with all the bug and bird combos being bad news, I swear. I knew I had to make that omen because just, wow, that 3 of them? Wasp Mimic is now in J-Clan, and we'll have to see what he does there. I've already rolled the upcoming battle, and I don't really know how I'll handle the J-Clan stream, spoilers-wise. You guys just might straight up get a slight sneak peek for things that happen there, because I really don't want to not stream J-Clan, because then that will just not be available to be seen, and I'll feel bad. But yeah, bad things are happening, really bad, but thank you guys so much for watching. Also, I hope you guys enjoy my new sprites and my new design. I still have to update things like my channel banner, which has been the same since I started, and it's really old. So I should be working on that. And with that said, I'd appreciate if you could like, subscribe, and check out all my links below if you haven't. And with that said, I will see you next time. Peace.